In today's video I'm going to discuss why CF Moto have probably got the big manufacturers pretty scared with this bike, and we're going to ride some of Cebu's best mountain roads. And I'm going to talk about why this CF Moto 450 MT is shaking up this middleweight adventure bike sector. So there's a few things on this bike that just really must have the main manufacturers worrying, the Japanese manufacturers. I think a lot of people, myself included, have been asking for this sort of mid-level 400-450cc adventure bike that's not too heavy for a long time, but not one that is really basic, not a cheaped out one. And I think people are happy to pay decent money for that kind of bike, and the manufacturers have ignored it. If Honda had brought out a CRF 450 rally with the same sort of service intervals as the 300s, but with higher spec, I think people would be all over it. And CF Moto have really thrown the cat amongst the pigeons by bringing out this 450 MT, and I'll tell you why. Not only is it a really smooth twin cylinder 450cc adventure bike, but it's not a bog standard basic bike aimed at the Indian market or the Southeast Asian market, where they just cheap out on everything. This bike feels really good quality. It's not top quality, but it's easily feeling as good as my Suzuki V-Strom 800 or the Suzuki 650 V-Stroms that I've had before. The finish and the fit of all the bolts, the parts, the plastics is really, really good. The engine feels really, really smooth. But not only that, the guys who have designed this bike are clearly riders themselves, because they've got such thoughtful little touches. But to get an adventure bike of this class with adjustable suspension front and back is unbelievable for a start. The fact that I'm not going to have to go and spend probably $1,000 or more, in fact it's probably more like $1,500 on getting the front and rear shocks sorted. That's $1,500 added onto the value of this bike straight away. So that's the main obvious thing. Everyone knows it's got adjustable suspension, but it's also got really thoughtful little things like this brilliant adjustable windscreen. And it's enough, you can put it down for off-road riding, but equally up in this position I've got it in now, it creates a nice buffer zone where it keeps the wind off you. And it's one-hand adjustable, so I can adjust it on the fly if I want to. Another thing, on the side here we've got a USB-C and USB-A port. That's fantastic, because we've also got an accessory mount on the top, and that means that I can charge my phone up whilst I'm riding. That is a feature that's on my V-Strom 800, but it's a feature that I had to pay to add on my CRF Rally. You can update the software, and that includes fuel mapping, engine maps, ECU maps and stuff via software. So when people complained that the throttle was a little bit jumpy, they updated it by software. I mean, that's unbelievable for a bike at this price point. And it's really thoughtful as well, because now I don't have to go into the dealer and pay them X amount of money to unlock the newer features. So there is actually talk of new features being added to this bike as well. Then we come down to things like levers. The levers are adjustable. I mean, that alone is just excellent, because it just means it's going to fit a wider range of riders. The seat is low and accessible for shorter riders. So Vince is shorter than me, I think 5'8" or something, and he finds this seat really, really comfortable when he went out on this bike. So also I can just pay $180 and I've got the taller seat coming. So for someone my height, it fits me as well. One thing I know that a lot of people who are considering the 450 MT will be thinking is what about the build quality? So I actually bought this sight unseen from the dealer. I had this thought, at this price, I thought, God, I'm going to get there and there's going to be a gotcha moment. There's going to be something about the bike where I say, God, okay, I don't like that. That's where the money's been saved. That's where they've cheaped out. You can't have everything. And this is why it's cheap, because of this, this and this. Maybe I look at the welds, maybe I look at the the build quality, and I think, oh, okay. None of that is true from what I've seen. It's not built cheaply. It's obviously they're doing it to a cost and to a budget, but it doesn't feel crap, it doesn't feel cheap. It's, you know, if I look at the engine and everything, very much reminiscent, well, this might not be the best thing, but it's very much reminiscent of a KTM engine. And everything on it is fantastic. And so the big manufacturers would almost certainly cheap out on this. They would put non-adjustable suspension on it. I can guarantee that. They would have a non-adjustable screen. You know, the USB port would probably be an optional accessory. And so what I'm really saying about this bike is it's really going to shake up the big manufacturers to stop their practices of trying to upsell you all the time. Oh, you're getting a Trans out, but you want this. Oh, well, you'll need to go to the Africa Twin. Well, why can't we have the choice of the engine size and sort of weight that we want of bike, and give us the top spec? You know, back in the day when I was growing up, you could buy a VFR 400, which was you know, obviously only a 400cc bike, but it was the dog's bollocks. It had twin rotors up front for brakes, it had the V4 engine, it was given the absolute dog's bollocks specs, but it was only a smaller capacity bike. And I think what CF Moto have done with this 450 MT is they've upped the game for everyone. And now the big manufacturers are going to have to respond. If the other manufacturers don't respond, people like me will spend our money with CF Moto. And in this case, okay, the reliability, I know that's the question mark. The reliability, is it going to be reliable? Well, I'm going to find that out on this channel. I don't see why it's going to be any less reliable than, you know, your KTMs, your Hondas and your Suzukis, as long as they've got their manufacturing processes right. And CF Moto manufacture for KTM, and they've just signed a deal with Yamaha where they're going to manufacture some stuff for Yamaha. So high hopes for it, and it really is going to change the landscape in this lightweight, cheaper end adventure market, which I think is a big market. I'm 43, Vince is 50 plus, and we both want this type of bike. We like to explore. And up until the CF Moto, we're looking at these, the Rally and the 300L. They're the options here. And I'm not knocking them, they're good bikes, I love them. But maybe we want a few more creature comforts. Maybe I do want traction control. Maybe I do want ABS. Maybe I do want to be able to adjust my suspension without having to spend a lot of money on third-party stuff. Maybe I just want to be able to buy the bike off the showroom floor with the features that I want, that are already on the bike, without me having to go away and think, ah, right, I've got to get this, I've got to get that. Little things on this bike, like the foot pegs, the rubber inserts are so easily removable that I've already taken them out. You know, if I want to charge up my phone on these lower end bikes, you can't do it, you know, but you can on this one. So I think it's a lot of convenience in a very tidy package that will really shake up the market and this segment of the market, and I think that can only be a good thing. I'm really noticing that this bike doesn't feel its weight. I've got to park it up in a couple of dodgy places later, so we'll see how that feels, but it feels good, it feels light. I don't feel like it's hard work to handle. So it's just beautiful here. It's just an amazing place for riding. We're about to head off what is the sort of the more main road, and we're going to go down on some tiny little roads now. These are tiny little barangay roads dropping into the valley. There's some tight little switchbacks on here, so it'll be interesting to see whether I can feel the weight of this bike doing that kind of riding. But look at that view out here. That is stunning, right? Wow, that is beautiful. So this is 194 kilos wet, I think. I have said, and from the second I got on this bike, I don't feel that weight. But this kind of slow pace, little tiny twisty roads is exactly where you would feel it. That and off-road. So far I haven't. Blimey, got some bad road surface there. Looks like part of the road fell off. What, up that mountain? Yeah. You're mental. Is that the trail there, straight across?
I don't know.
I have every faith in you. Oh, Vince alleges he knows where he's going. I know he does because we've done this route before. So this is one of the tight switchbacks. God, I don't feel the weight, and the tyres feel so planted that it's yeah, no, it's fine. Oh wow, we've got a landslide here. That is what happens here if there's heavy rain. You get landslide and it's just all slipped down the road. So we've just worked our way basically from 3/4 of the way up a hill that size down to the valley, through some really tight switchbacks, and no, the weight of this bike is fine. Really don't feel it at all. It feels substantially lighter than a V-Strom or an Africa Twin or something like that. Feels ever so slightly heavier than a Rally, but hardly anything. God, even like this, sometimes the exhaust just spits a little bit and it sounds really nice. It's like gurgling. Lovely river down there. So we're just getting onto a few little tracks and trails now. And I mean, and this kind of stuff, exploring around the Philippines on this, is this bike's, God, it's more than capable of this. The most dangerous thing here is the chickens. I tell you what, the brake is nice and easy to find on this. Suspension's easily soaking up these little gentle bumps, but check out that view over there. That is beautiful. Look at that view. So we are heading up out the valley the other side now. It's been a mixture of a little bit of trails, although some of it has now been cemented, and then these little barangay roads, and honestly the CF Moto's handling it all really, really easily. Yeah. So one of the things I would definitely say about this bike, and the fact that the big manufacturers haven't got a head start, is that this CF Moto, if it's reliable, it's going to do everything you want. If this is the kind of riding you do, and with a little bit of longer distance touring as well, man, Honda and KTM and all these other manufacturers have got some catching up to do. Because if the reliability is here, then why do I need to go back to Honda and Suzuki and Yamaha for this kind of stuff?